Hey now everybody, this is Professor Island. Today we're talking about formatting and other elements of putting together a paper. And today's specific discussion is about note cards and annotated works cited. Back in the olden days, if you were to take an English class, besides some loose leaf notebook paper and a pen, you were also required to get little 3x5 note cards and a pencil. And that's because at some point you'd wander off to the library and you'd find this big cabinet with a bunch of little drawers in it, and you'd go through and you'd find little tiny cards that had the names of authors and titles of works and a code as to where to find them in the library. Luckily for most of you, you live in the modern age, and now when you want to find something, you open up a computer and you open an electronic card catalog and you find the works that you're looking for. What would happen is that as we wandered into the library, we would have to find 5, 6, 10, 15, 20 works, and we'd write them down individually on these little 3x5 cards, and then we'd go through the library and find them, and this is how we kept our material in order. What you're going to do for me is similar, except I don't need from you the 3x5 cards. Instead, what you're going to do is you're going to get online, or you're going to go to the library itself, and you're going to get into the databases, and you're going to have to gather for me 10 resources that are relevant for the paper that you're working on. For English 101, this is the final paper, and therefore you're going to look up, yellow wallpaper or Sonny's Blues or something like that within the databases, within Gale Literature Resource Center or EBSCOhost. And you're going to be looking for resources that discuss the symbolism, irony, conflict, setting, all those elements. And you're going to look for the information at the bottom of that article. And at the bottom of the article, there's going to be a thing that says references or works cited. And it's going to have the author's name, the title of the article, the title of the work it was in, the publication date, perhaps the publication place, the year, the page numbers, etc. And you're going to place these things on a piece of paper, and you can get 10 of them together. Under each one of them, you're going to give me a description of what that item is in order to explain what you're finding. In other words, I don't want you to just randomly find 10 things and slap them on there. You actually have to read these things. And what you're looking for is literary analysis. You're looking for, again, symbolism, irony, conflict, narrative perspective, things like that. For English 101, I also want you to find at least one biography of the author that you're going to include in that 10. And you gather this together, you put them in alphabetical order by either the last name of the author, or if there's no author, by the title. And it's going to create this work that is listed in alphabetical order. Don't number them, 1, 2, 3, 4. Just list them in alphabetical order with little notation under each one, 2, 3 sentences that explains what it is. And you turn that into me, and that is your note card requirement. That is 10% of your grade for this assignment. The reason we have you do this in English 101 is because this is part of your information gathering process. And many other literature classes, other English classes, as well as other classes will require this as part of you keeping in contact with the instructor as to how your research is coming along. This is evidence, essentially, that you're doing some kind of research. For my other courses, the note card requirement may or may not be required. You check with me. But as part of that, if you're going to do that, it's essentially the same thing, only instead of symbolism, irony, and conflict, you're looking for perhaps critical perspectives, some biographical context, some historical context. Some of the resources that you find may not be on the work itself, but may be some historical information, some cultural information, perhaps a discussion of what a particular critical response is, feminist, cultural, psychoanalytical, whatever it happens to be. But again, you're gathering together your secondary sources, and you're giving me a little description under each one as to what that particular source is. And it helps you to look at your material and see what you found. Oh, look, I found 18 things on feminist criticism, and I only need one paragraph. Maybe I should do some other research. Or for English 101, look, everything I found is symbolism. I haven't found any irony yet. I need to go back and look for something that talks about irony. The purpose of this is to help you organize your research process and to see what you have and to see what you don't have. What comes to me is 10 of them. How you use this in the future may be that you organize all your material this way. What this would look like then is that you would essentially give me this list, call it annotated works cited, and then you start going through the process of actually writing your paper. Any resource that you turn into me on this annotated works, this note cards thing, that you do not use, you will take off of this list. You will take all the annotations off the list. You will add any resource that you find later on that you do use in your paper. and then you will turn this into me as the last page. It is the last thing that you put on your paper as your works cited page. And in some ways, you're already kind of creating that works cited page as when you're gathering together your information for your paper. So it's not this is not just an exercise in which you do this thing and then you throw it aside. Instead, you do this, you send it in to me, and then you keep this, and you take the annotations out. You take out any work that you don't actually use, you don't actually quote from. You add any works that you find later on that you do quote from. And then, again, since they're already in alphabetical order, you simply put works cited at the top of the page, and then you attach that to your paper, and that is your works cited page, which is required for every research paper for my class, including the last paper for English 101, as well as every paper for any other class that I teach. Okay? Like I said, the note cards thing is more for you than it is for me. It is required for English 101, but more importantly, it helps you to organize and to see what you're doing, what you're finding, what you're not finding. There's a good example of an annotated works note card on my paper and test archive. And it's in the 101 section, but it applies. You can see how the author of that particular work has organized his elements in alphabetical order, and there's that little blurb underneath it. So use this to your best advantage, and make sure if you're in English 101, you get that to me on time. Stay in touch.